Number of Indian projects funded by the USAID in FY 24-7 amid controversy over USAID's alleged role in influencing Indian elections. The latest annual report of the Finance Ministry has disclosed that agency funded projects worth $750 million in 2023-24. During this year, no funding was made to enhance voter turnout, but for projects related to agriculture and food security. Investment proposals approved by the Assam Cabinet 1.22 lakh crore. Addressing a press conference after the cabinet meeting, Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma said it had decided that all MOUs which will be signed during the Advantage Assam 2.0 Investment in Infrastructure Summit will be properly scrutinized and then approved by the Council of Ministers. Number of CCTV cameras to be installed in Sambhal 300. The administration is in Sambhal is set to install 300 cameras at 127 locations to bolster security and surveillance. Australia's Prime Minister promises boost for healthcare $5.4 billion. Anthony Albanese promised a $5.4 billion boost to the national healthcare system to overture the voters ahead of elections. Domestic trips undertaken in China during the lunar year next New Year. What has Supreme Court previously ruled on gag orders? What were the stringent conditions imposed on podcaster and influencer Ranveer Elhabadia by the Supreme Court? What are the factors on which the top court grants interim relief to the accused in a case? What has the court said about gag orders in the past? The Supreme Court on Friday 18 granted interim protection from the arrestor to podcaster and influencer Ranveer Alhabadia in connection with the first information reports registered against him over the remarks made on the YouTube show India's Got Talent. A bench comprising Justices Suryakant and N. Koteshwar Singh imposed stringent conditions prohibiting Elhabadia and his associate from posting any content on social media until further orders. The court also directed him to surrender his passport to the police. These conditions contravene prior Supreme Court rulings that have cautioned against the imposition of onerous restrictions that unduly curtail personal liberty while granting interim relief. Multiple FIRs were registered against Elhabadia in Maharashtra, Assam, and Rajasthan under various provisions of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, the IT Act 2000, and the Indecent Representation of Women Prohibition Act 1986 for allegedly promoting obscenity and engaging in sexually explicit discussions. Consequently, he approached the Supreme Court seeking a consolidation of these FIRs and an interim order granting him protection from arrest. Such petitions akin to anticipatory bail applications are entertained under Article 32 of the Constitution for the enforcement of fundamental rights and to shield individuals from arbitrary police action. Consequently, he approached the Supreme Court seeking a consolidation of these FIRs and an interim order granting him protection from arrest. Such petitions akin to anticipatory bail applications are entertained under Article 32 of the Constitution for the enforcement of the fundamental rights and to shield individuals from arbitrary police action. In such cases, courts either club the FIRs or permit the investigation to proceed under a single one while staying the rest. This spares the accused from the hassle of appearing before multiple courts. Ultimately, even if convicted, the accused serves a common sentence rather than a consecutive sentences. In Pratik Bansal vs. State of Rajasthan 22, Supreme Court denounced the practice of filing multiple FIRs for the same alleged offence. Recognizing it is a tool for harassment and abuse of state machinery, that same year, the bench led by Justice L. Nageshwar Rao even mooted the establishment of a body akin to the US Judicial Panel on multi-district litigation to centralize the registration of such cases. The conditions for granting relief, interim relief, in criminal cases are not statutorily prescribed. Instead, judges have the discretion to impose conditions they consider necessary to uphold justice and prevent interference with the investigation in trial. In exercising this discretion, courts typically assess three factors: Flight risk, the likelihood of the accused absconding, intimidation of witnesses, apprehension that the accused may threaten witnesses, the tampering with evidence, the possibility that interim relief could enable the accused to interfere with the investigation. For instance, courts can often impose bail conditions such as requiring the accused to deposit their passport, setting a high bail bond to ensure their participation in the investigation, and mandating periodic appearances before the concerned police authority. However, the Supreme Court has consistently cautioned against imposing unduly restrictive conditions, such as requiring the accused to share their Google Maps location pin or reside in a specific locality, deeming them disproportionate and unwarranted. Satyendra Kumar Until versus Central Bureau of Investigation and others, the top court ruled that imposing bail conditions were impossible of compliance. In Satyendra Kumar Until versus CBI, top court ruled that imposing bail conditions that were impossible of compliance would be defeating the very object of release. More recently, in Frank Witters versus NCB, a bench comprising Justice A.K. Oka and Ujjwal Bhuyan ruled that bail condition requiring the accused to share their Google Maps location pin was unconstitutional. The investigating agency cannot be permitted to continuously peep into the private life of the accused enlarged on bail by imposing arbitrary conditions, since the will violate the right to privacy of the accused as guaranteed by Article 21. The condition imposed on Allahabadia and his associates to not air any show on YouTube or any other audio-visual mode of communication till further orders effectively constitutes a gag order. In free speech jurisprudence, this falls under the doctrine of prior restraint state action that prohibits speech or expression before it occurs. Courts have consistently cautioned against prior restraints on speech, deeming them impermissible except in exceptional circumstances. In 2021, the Supreme Court stayed a Kerala High Court bail condition restricting women rights activist Rehana Fatima from publishing her views on social media. Notably, while granting interim bail to Odd News co-founder Mohammed Zubair in 2021, a bench led by Justice D.Y. Chandrachud and also comprising Justices Suryakant and A.S. Bopanna rejected the Uttar Pradesh government's request to prohibit him from tweeting while on bail. The bench underscored that such a disproportionate restriction would create a chilling effect on the freedom of speech. The court further noted that Zubair's profession required him to engage with social media and underscored that a gag order would constitute an unjustified violation of the right to practice his profession. The Supreme Court on February 18 granted interim protection from arrest and podcaster and influencer Ranveer Allahabadia in connection with the FIRs registered against him over remarks made on the YouTube show India Got Latent. Condition imposed on Allahabadia and his associates to not air any show or YouTube till further orders effectively constitutes a gag order. The conditions for granting the interim relief in criminal cases are not statutorily prescribed. Instead, judges have their discretion to impose conditions they consider necessary. Courts have consistently cautioned against prior restraint to fees, deeming them impermissible except in exceptional circumstances. In 21 Supreme Court stayed Kerala High Court bail conditions restricting women rights activist Rehana Fatima from publishing her views on social media, while granting interim bail to Alt News co-founder Mohammed Zubair. The bench led by Chandrachud and also comprising Suryakant rejected the Uttar Pradesh government's request to prohibiting him from tweeting while on bail. Why has the UGC care list of journals been discontinued? What are suggestive parameters introduced by the UGC with respect to academic journals? Will it lead to proliferation of low quality journals? The UGC decided to discontinue the UGC Consortium of Academic Research Ethics care list, which it introduced in 2018. The UGC care list will now replaced by a set of suggestive parameters for choosing journals based on 8 criteria. Stakeholders can submit suggestions by February 25. There are 36 suggestive parameters under 8 criteria in the draft notification titled Suggestive Parameters for Peer-Reviewed Journals. Under the journal preliminary and criteria, the UGC has asked teachers to note the journal title, the international standard, serial number, periodicity and continuity, and transparency review policy, etc. before sending an article for publication. Under the editorial board criteria, the UGC wants authors to ensure that the journal's editorial board details and editorial board composition are made available. Similarly, other criteria under suggestive parameters include journal editorial policy, journal standards, and journal visibility and research ethics. The aim of the UGC care listing was to ensure that only reputable journals are recognized for faculty selections, promotions, and research funding applications. According to UGC Chairman M. Jagdish Kumar, the UGC care list faced severe criticism, including over-centralization in deciding what constitutes high quality research and journals, unnecessary delays in including or excluding journals from the list. Academics had also raised concerns that in certain fields such as Tamil, the availability of research journals were limited as per the UGC care list. Mr. Kumar said there was lack of transparency in decision-making process and highly respected journals published in Indian languages were excluded from the list. Furthermore, the UGC claims that the new approach will help in combating predatory journals and decentralize the mechanism of choosing the academic journals. Higher education institutions will now be responsible for establishing credible mechanisms to evaluate journals and ensure they meet high ethical and scholarly standards. They can develop their own institutional mechanism for evaluating the quality of publications and journals. These mechanisms should align with established academic norms and indicative parameters suggested by UGC. The decentralized approach allows higher education institutions to tailor their evaluation processes to suit their specific needs. Mr. Kumar said in a statement, institutions can now create evaluation models that consider the unique characteristics of different disciplines and accommodate newer evolving fields. Students and academics have voiced their concerns on the latest move. Their main worry is that decision will result in the mushrooming of low-quality journals. The Central Executive Committee of the Student Federation of India condemned the UGC move, which they said were taken without adequate consultation with student and research communities. The SFI termed the decision as a serious setback to academic integrity and quality research in India. The SFI added that the UGC's decision is part of a broader pattern of deregulation in higher education under the NEP 2020. While decentralization is essential for academic freedom, the lack of central oversight mechanism could lead to arbitrary and inconsistent journal evaluation process across institutions. While decentralization is essential for academic freedom, the lack of central oversight mechanism could lead to arbitrary, inconsistent journal evaluation process across institutions. The aim of UGC care listing was to ensure that only reputable journals are recognized for faculty selections, promotions, and research funding applications. According to UGC Chairman M. Jagdish Kumar, the UGC care list faced several criticisms, including over-centralization in deciding what constitutes high-quality research and journals, and unnecessary delays in including and excluding journals from the list. Students and academics have voiced their concerns on the latest move. What does AWS Others Developers case say about cloud data management? Others Developers said it was using Amazon Cloud to secure the company's financial data and customers' personal data. However, on January 9, the company said the data environment hosted on AWS was completely deleted. On February 11, Bangalore-based Others developers filed a complaint against Amazon Web Services, claiming that years' worth of company and customer data hosted on the AWS was lost, resulting in a financial loss of well beyond 100 crore. The loss of data and Others developers' decision to take legal action against the tech giant in India has raised questions about security in enterprise-grade cloud storage, the need for multiple versions of backed up data, and legality of such cases. In its FIR on February 11, Others developers said it was using the SAP ERP hosted on Amazon Cloud to secure the company's financial data and customers' personal data. The real estate firm alleged that in May 23, AWS business development representative Saidalavi Safan advised the company to opt for an upgraded service to secure their data so as to ward off cyber terrorism or sabotage. They complied, but on January 9, 25 at 10:48 a.m. the company said the data environment, the entire SAP environment to be specific, hosted on AWS was completely deleted. The real estate firm alleged in May 23 the AWS business development representative advised the company to opt for an upgraded service to secure their data so as to ward off cyber terrorism or sabotage. After making inquiries through its partner, Savik Technologies Private Limited, Others developers said the data loss was a result of the action taken by individuals at Redington, a vendor, and the AWS. The participants' exact actions and specific allegations are not known. The real estate further claimed that years' worth of vital financial records, supply chain data, customer information, and operational insights had become inaccessible. The loss of data brought its business functions and operations to a complete halt. Others developers said in their complaint the company estimated that the value of data it lost to around 150 as of January 31, with approximate losses of 5 crore per day starting from January 9. Others developers also said that it was unable to collect customers' payments, pay statutory taxes, and facilitate interest payments to lenders. The Cyber Crime Police have suggested a case against AWS and others under the IT Act, Section 318 for cheating and fraud, and Section 319 to impersonation of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. There is general tendency to think data loss is a result of actions performed by malicious agents such as hackers or even disgruntled employees. However, there can be a number of reasons behind data loss, especially when team of vendors, technical partners, client service providers, consultant work together to keep a company's complex systems up and running in a secure environment. One possibility is the cloud misconfiguration, which stems from poorly implemented cloud settings, bad system architecture, low quality security infrastructure, unsecured databases, or unmanaged access. Human error is also a common cause for large scale outages and data loss incidents. In the FIR, the others developers cited Savik's claim that some individuals in the Redington and the AWS team were responsible for data loss. Others developers claimed that AWS India responded by saying that they could not retrieve the data or restore it, forcing the real estate company to take legal action. Amazon, however, has refused to accept the allegations. The claims against AWS are false. The claims against AWS are false. AWS operated as designed is not responsible for the deletion of others developers' data. While the root cause of others developers data loss incident is not yet clear, some similar incident involving data loss through cloud services have been recorded in the past. For example, the Register outlet reported that Microsoft Azure outage of January 29, 2019, Microsoft Azure outage of 2019 affected Azure SQL databases and also led to some data loss within a certain time window. To compensate users, the company waived a few Azure user charges of 2 to 3 months, depending on how their databases were affected. As per the register, even before this, code hosting program CodeSpaces had to shut down after its servers were hit by DDoS attack, and its Amazon service account, Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2, was breached by a hacker. Most of the platform's data and its backup, including offsite backups, were deleted, said CodeSpaces. Name the feminist social movement which Mira Paibi. It means women torchbearers. Mira Paibi, women torchbearers athlete who won gold medal. Dinko Singh, the weightlifter, won the silver. Saikham Mirabai Chanu. The artist was awarded the Padam Shri in 1986. Rajkumar Singhjit Singh. Name this politician who served chief minister for longest period. Okram Ibobi Singh. Gaidilinu Gaidiniliu Pamai, Rani Gaidiniliu. A quiz on the tech pioneer and co-founder Apple, Steve Jobs, who would have turned 70 on February 24, who was Joan Carroll's. It is well known that Jobs practiced Zen Buddhism and was influenced by a 1971 book on meditation. Ram Dass named the work. Jobs dropped out of Reed College and took a job at which famous company, who once said about Jobs he did not know technology, he never designed anything as a hardware engineer, and he did not know software. He wanted to be important, and the important people are always the business people. So that's what he wanted to do. Before meeting his future wife Lorraine, Jobs dated a music icon named her, at which famous sporting event was the iconic commercial 1984 shown. Name the company Jobs founded in 1985 and from which famous studio did he buy Pixar? What is the significance of the word oh wow, oh wow, oh wow? Manipur's GST growth rate declines, inflation surges, thousands of hours of internet shutdowns have added to state's woes. The ongoing conflict in Manipur has had a significant impact on the state's economic revenue. The revenue flown from the GST has slowed down drastically, while retail inflation levels have skyrocketed. The double whammy came amid the 1,000 hours of internet shutdowns last year, preceded by more than 4,300 hours in 2023. While ethnic violence continues to lead to numerous deaths, the theater of conflict has now shifted to peripheral districts of Jirbham and Kamjang. While the growth rate of GST revenues from Manipur was among the highest across all states between FY18 and FY19 and between FY19 and FY20, it was among the lowest between FY23 and 24. Chart 1 compares the GST growth rates between India and Manipur. Manipur's GST growth rate was 2.5 times higher between FY18 and 19 and 5 times higher than India between 1920. However, 23-24 Manipur's was three-fifth of India's. While the rise in cost of living driven by part increase in food prices is a pan-India concern, the rise in retail inflation is pinching the wallets of Manipur consumers more than anywhere else in the country. Before the start of hostilities in May 24, Manipur had the lowest retail inflation among all the states. In January 23, while the average Indian retail inflation was exceeding 6%, it was just 1.7% in Manipur. In May 23, while the average inflation was 4.3%, Inflation climbed to 9.5% in Manipur. Since then, inflation in Manipur has remained higher than all India average across most months. The inflation rates in May, June, and July 24 were the only exceptions to the trend, and this was mainly due to the base effect. In January 25, while Indian retail inflation eased to a 5-month low of 4.3%. Apart from price rise, internet shutdowns have disrupted life and work in Manipur in the last 2 years. An internet shutdown was first imposed in the districts of Churachandpur and Faisal on April 23. It was extended to the whole state on 20, May 3, 2023. A new age of imperialism. In Ernst Hemingway's A Sun Also Rises, character asks how he went bankrupt gradually and then suddenly, he says, so too perhaps with the rules-based international order that has governed relations between member states after the dizzying first weeks of the second Trump presidency. 3 years ago, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the violation of the UN Charter by a permanent member of the Security Council severely tested the principles upon which the post-war order has been built. It exposed the fragility of an open, rules-based international system founded on three pillars: an economic integration through global trading system, international financial institutions, collective civil sovereignty based on sovereign equality and self-determination. However, today the US has switched from backing Ukraine to echoing Russia in a repudiation too of the Charter principles. This has dealt a body blow to the UN-based system of global governance. The current world order rose from the ashes of World War II over several conferences. US and UK Soviet Union agreed to formation of an international organization based on collective security to maintain peace and manage relations between states. It was therefore decided at the Tehran conference between Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin that this organization would enforce peace through four policemen: US, Britain, Soviet Union, and China. By the Yalta Conference, France was included at the top table, mainly to deal with territories that had been occupied by the Third Reich. The imposition of Victor's peace was avoided by the insisting on sovereign equality of all states in a rules-based order. Great power rivalries could be managed by a system of collective security and economic integration. In reality, however, the 1945 Yalta Conference implicitly accepted spheres of influence for the Soviet Union in East Europe by the extension for the UK and the US in the rest of Europe. This was the price for Stalin's agreement to fight with its allies against Japan. Yet, flawed through it was, the UN system, the Bretton Woods Organization and the subsidiary organizations lubricated the conduct of relations between the states. Even if war did not disappear, the system privileged norms and principles that made international relations more predictable and consensual and fettered the power of larger states to the ideals of a rules-based forum of sovereign equals. In times, the spheres of influence yielded to self-determination. President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump has taken a bulldozer to the system. He has undermined international agreements by pulling the US out of the Paris Agreement, signaling its departure from the World Health Organization, and ordering a review of all American membership or all international organizations and treaties. And by unilaterally imposing tariffs on trading partners, he had thrown the global trading system into a complete disarray. Overnight, norms and expectations of behavior from founding members of this international order have been upended. The US, the most powerful nation, is behaving like a declining power. pursuing nationalist foreign policy seeking to expand its influence and borders within its hemisphere. But perhaps the most dramatic move has been Mr. Trump's reinstatement of ties with Vladimir Putin, his attempts to negotiate peace in Ukraine without Kiev at the table, calling Volodymyr Zelensky a dictator and agreeing to Russian demands that no NATO troops set a foot the Ukrainian soil to enforce any peace that is negotiated have stunned Europe. Europe has come to the terms with managing its own security, having ridden on the US coattails for decades within NATO. The meeting between American and Russian officials at Riyadh may not have been Yalta moment, but the parallels are strong. The main difference is that this is not a victor's peace, but a sellout from the Ukraine's former backer. The rhetoric from the White House signals a new world order that is nasty and brutish, in which the makes right. The US retreat from the global stage to its neighborhood, while Mr. Trump ties to acquiring Greenland, Canada, and Panama. Perhaps Gaza may seem the stuff of fantasy, but if he is taken at his word, it signals the start of a new imperial age. The world is being divided into spheres of influence. The US will exert power on its own hemisphere and perhaps on the West Asia. By repeating Mr. Putin's lines on Ukraine and NATO expansion, Mr. Trump has effectively handed over Europe to Russia, leaving Mr. Putin free to pursue his revisionist claims on Ukraine and recreate Imperial Russia's lost glory. That leaves China, which has propped up Russia through its Ukraine adventure. Beijing's irredentism regarding Taiwan has so far been held in check by the US security guarantees in East and Southeast Asia. America's retreat leaves China free to consider moving on its claim to Taiwan. India would do well to remember that China has never accepted the McMahon line. Suddenly, along the world order, our neighborhood too is starting to look more insecure. So that's all in this one. See you in the next.